Hey, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. To keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, remember to protect what you pursue. Summer fishing is fired up with warm water and hungry fish moving into the bay. So let's hear who's making the show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Boaters know that the unexpected can happen anytime. That's why SeaTow offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, or needing a tow, SeaTow's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing with no distance or dollar limits in your home area, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, and boat insurance. With over 500 ports nationwide, SeaTow has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seatow.com and boat with confidence. All right, guys, welcome to this week's show. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to social media or any of the recent reports, but it's been exciting to see a fresh slurry of offshore activity. So I wanted to get back on the horn with someone who knows offshore very, very well, spends a lot of time, or probably the majority of his time out there when the weather is good. Welcome back to the show, Captain Russ with Top Notch. How are we doing, Captain Russ?
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for checking in with me.
Absolutely, man. I know you have. I think the last time I saw you, I mentioned, was at the Virginia Beach tuna tournament, and you guys had a really nice catch and some really good time out there, and got to see the boat up close in person. And man, she's a beauty.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to fish on that thing. It's every time I go out there, I'm thankful to have a nice rig, especially on days like yesterday when it was a little bit rough, when the forecast was not supposed to be rough. That happens too.
Yeah, I mean, what do you,
But no.
when you see that forecast and then you kind of, see it change up out there, what do you think causes that from a conditions perspective? If the forecast is saying one thing and then you get out there and it's something else, what typically is the cause of that?
Well, I think that most of the time the weather people, it's hard for them to predict a couple hours, much less, a day or two. But even if you're checking on it that night before, they're saying it's going to be 12 to 15, and then all of a sudden it becomes 15 to 20. They've only missed it by 5 or 6. But as a boater, the difference between 15 and 20 or 22, or like yesterday, 18 to gust to 22.
Oh, wow.
That's a big difference from thinking it's going to blow 13 or 14 all day. So that happens, and that's why you just got to make sure your boat is well equipped for anything. Meaning, you don't make sure you have your fuel and all your safeties, all that stuff, just in case the weather comes up, or for that matter, a front line or a storm or something comes through. So you just want to be conscious of the weather, but not scared of it. The boats will take anything. It's the people in them.
It's the people
I just
in
want to
them.
make sure everybody's safe. And not just tell my people yesterday that you just keep reminding them to be careful as they're moving around. Just so
Right.
When we're still fishing, we're still fishing, even if the seas grow to 5 feet. We're there. We got to fish.
Mm-hmm.
But and they fished in a lot worse than that in this past tournament. And when they had right after the hurricane, boats were out there and they did real well, and everybody was safe, and no injuries and all those kinds of things. So that's good. Just got to be a safe boater when you're fishing.
Yep. You guys have to, as charter captains, be the ultimate planners, and then contingency planners, and then contingencies for your contingency planning, and that comes first before everything else. And I know you got a lot of years of experience doing that.
Yeah, you just want to be safe. You want to keep your people safe. Yep. You don't want to, but you want to bring them back in same kind of condition you brought them out in, so to speak. But
That's the truth.
It's just keeping one eye on the weather. But this time of year especially, because there's could be storms and cold fronts and stuff like that. But but fishing is this time of year is great. Fishing for me offshore this time of year, it's just great.
Man,
Really is. Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into the report. Before we jump into that, for those that are tuning in and hearing you for the first time, maybe tell them about the custom boat that you built, and just a high level overview of what all Top Notch Charters has to offer in terms of the different types of species that you guys go after.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. Yeah, this is my sixth boat that I've built.
Mm.
I've designed and built the last three. I worked with some builders on the other previous three. We still built most of those. Even one of those boats, I built 75% of it. This one, I hired certain people to try to bring it along quicker. But it's 58-foot sport fishing boat. It's a whole nother topic we can talk about building boats. It's a lot of fun to work on them and to build them. And I'm fortunate enough that my brother is a very good. He worked with the shipyard with all the wiring and all the plumbing. So not only did I do all the construction, but he did all the wiring, plumbing, shafts. I mean, all that stuff he puts in. So I'm very fortunate there. But it's a 58-foot custom sport fishing boat. You can see some of that. I don't know if I have some of the build stuff on our website. I probably should. It's fishtopnotch.com. But most of what we do is offshore fishing. I mean, we do some inshore fishing, but most of our inshore fishing is right along the beach in 4 or 5 hour increments. So, you don't have a lot of opportunity to run into the bay and look for cobia and run here and do that, or anchor up and do that. I try to specialize. If somebody calls me and says, hey, really, I want to look for cobia, I refer them to some of the guests that you've had in previous shows that are great cobia fishermen. And the same thing, I had customers fish me for probably 12 years. I've watched his kids grow up. He wanted to catch flounder on wrecks. Well, I hooked him up with a guy that's what he does. So I'd rather somebody that specialize in that. It's hard as a fisherman, and some of your people are probably listening. It's hard to be an expert in every fish and every species. Yeah. And so we try to do the best we can on certain species. And if you have your own boat and you're fishing in the bay, fishing in the ocean, then you're going offshore, my hat's off to you, because that's completely different tackle if you're doing it right.
Yeah,
and,
you've got to have a dedication to learning and a big credit card.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we probably have about 50 rods on my boat that are all different kinds, because we do a lot of different types of fishing. Right. But even when my marlin fishing gear is completely different than my tuna fishing gear, and then I have special poles just for bailing dolphin, which is a whole nother episode talking about, going down a weed line. Then I use, going down a weed line, I'm using strips of bait with J hooks, not using my marlin spread, because it's hard to feed a little dolphin, on a circle hook. So
right.
There's a lot of specialty when they're to do it, but it's a lot of fun. If you're not set up like we are with lots of different things, you still can get it done. I mean, one of our boats today ran out there and was fishing around with his tuna gears and spreader bars and all kinds of stuff. He still caught some marlin. So you can catch them on that stuff. We just try to have it set up and targeted to where right now we're fishing our marlin spread, which is, J hooks. I'm sorry, I'd get right into the fishing stuff, but
no, that's what I wanted to do.
J hooks. I'm sorry. We're using circle hooks. We're using, I use the Penn Fathom reels, and if you look at them, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a small reel. Yes, it's only got 30 pounds of line. Wow. Then we tie a leader that is 80-pound tied on leader, and then I use a 7-foot leader, which is fluorocarbon, and then a circle hook, and then a ballyhoo that is tied with what we call an O-ring. So you're pulling that over. You put the O-ring on the circle hook. So you're flipping around this thing on light tackle, and when a marlin comes up to it, marlin, if you watch them, they've done a lot of studies, and sailfish are the same way too. They will try to ball bait, and then they will run through the bait, and they will slash it with their bill, and then the bait that is flat, kind of floating down because it's been stunned, then they go and eat those. So what we're doing is, when I've got it in my hand, I've got it on free spool and my thumb. And then when that fish hits it, even if it hasn't clipped it, even if it hasn't popped out of the pin, I'm feeding it. But I'm putting a little bit of thumb drag, not much thumb drag. But the reason you're using 30-pound line and those type reels is they free spool very well.
Okay.
So I'm free spooling it because with a circle hook, you want it to go swallow it, and then when you come tight, you put the drag up and you hold it down. You put your rod tip towards the water,
Mm-hmm.
and you put all the way to the water. Then that circle hook should come out of his stomach and circle right in his corner of his mouth, and that way it won't kill the fish. The
Got
old
it.
style, when we had J hooks, if he swallowed it and you J hooked him, you got a J hook in his stomach. You may pull his stomach out, and then he's bleeding, and then he's going to die.
Mm.
So we're all trying to not kill these fish.
Right.
And in tournaments, you have to use. They've been required for years to use circle hooks. But anyway, your ratios are much stronger if you do that. So, for instance, a friend of mine was out there yesterday. He had 13 bites. He caught 8 fish.
Wow.
Well, in the old days, I remember a day we had 22 bites and I caught 2 because I had 50 internationals and I'm trying to hook a big old J hook through. And if you've seen a marlin, they got that bill is hard and their mouth is hard. And so if you're trying to hook it on a J hook tuna rig, you better hope it goes right through the bill, or you get lucky maybe in the corner of his mouth. But your odds are not as good. Doesn't mean you can't.
Got it.
I caught one just 2 weeks ago on an 80. The marlin hit my 80, which has got a big J hook in it with a regular plug, like a Hawaiian eye plug, and he ate it. And then it right on his bill, went right through his bill. So
Okay.
when he comes to the boat, we grab onto his bill and we do unhook it. When the other ones come to the boat, we just take our line and get it close and cut it real quick, or even snap it off. In other words, if you take a wrap on the 80-pound leader and pull real hard,
You can just
it
break
should
it.
break right close to the hook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Man,
But,
it's such a cool
but
technique.
It's not expensive. It's a very cool technique. Right before the tournament, I re-spooled all my rods. So, I got 7 rods, even though I'm only fishing 5. So you're re-spooling it with all the new line,
Mm-hmm.
all new leaders. Make sure all that stuff doesn't have a nick in your line. Because if your guys are out there fishing, let's say you're tuna fishing,
Mm-hmm.
and you fished last year and you're tuna fishing, and now you pull your tuna gear out next year and you need to start fishing again. Well, were there any times that one line hit the other line? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
And that can nick your line. So then now your line's not as strong.
Right.
So
right.
the one time you needed to be strong on that 80-pound tuna, then it breaks and you're like, I don't know why it broke. Well, I can tell you why. So we changed our line sometimes more than once during a season, but certainly every season. Now I fish more than probably other people,
Yeah.
but if you're getting a lot of cross lines, and then we're changing our line sooner than later. But going back to the marlin fishing, what's really cool about it is that you can feed it right through the clip. I mentioned to you if it wasn't popped. So all of a sudden you're feeding it, and then you feel them. Then all of a sudden you can actually feel the speed pick up on your thumb, which is a cool feeling. But you still give it, whatever you think is a good length of time, whether it's 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. And then you put that drag up, and then you still hold the rod tip down close to the water, even though it hadn't popped out of the pin. And when it comes tight, it'll pop out of the pin and then, pop, along the, by the water. Your rod should just bend over, and that's a cool feeling.
When you say pop out of the pin,
and then,
what are you referring to? The pin clipped into
the
outrigger?
if I've got them, if I've got it in an outrigger,
Okay.
then or the short rigger, and it has not popped it. In other words, that first initial bill smack did not pop it out.
Mm-hmm.
I will free spool it right through the pin. Don't worry that it didn't pop out of the pin.
Got it. Okay.
Because it's more important right then and there. Why he thinks he's stunned it. He wants to come back and eat it.
Got it.
So if you're playing around with it, he may come back to it a second or third time, but he might have messed up your bait with the bill, and so now you're trying to swim a bait that looks, all mangled.
Right.
So
not going to chase
I would just assume that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So and on a flat line, you could, if you see it and you're quick enough, you could run back there and pop it out yourself, so you don't have to worry about it. But if it's not a flat line bite and it's another bite, or for instance, we do pop it out of the pen. If you're pulling a teaser, like our teasers, we're pulling a set of squids, green on one side, pink on the other. And behind that, we have an islander or a big chugger with a big horse ballyhoo with no hook. And so yesterday, for instance, a marlin all of a sudden appears behind there and he's trying to swat it. And I grab it and I pull the teaser in to me instead of trying to get it closer to the boat. And my mate runs down there, pops the flat line, and he's trying to get that bait over to that where the marlin is.
Okay. So almost
if you sit
hand
back
feeding
here
it.
and have him, yes, you want him to get you want him to come up and see, all of a sudden what happened to the one I was chasing, and then he's following it up, and then he sees this loose one, then her sometimes jump right over to that, which is what you want.
Got it. Okay.
So that's a lot of fun. I mean, everybody in the whole boat's seeing it. I mean, it's really up close and personal.
I bet it's a rush. I'm curious, so you've kind of talked us through the terminal tackle and the process and the things to pay attention to and some of the technical parts of the process in terms of, how to deliver the bait to it, weight, thumb, circle hook, etc. How do you, when you look at water or you look at a water shot, and you're looking at maybe chlorophyll, your sea surface temperature, you're looking at some of your bathymetry, and you're trying to pick a spot and point, here's where I'm going to start trying to pull up some marlin today. What kind of things do you look for? And in your experience, what types of data points typically show the best sort of marlin activity out here of, Virginia Beach?
Well, that's a great question, and we'll be some at Virginia Beach or North Carolina or even Ocean City. But what you'd look for is there are different services you could buy too. Like for instance, Roffers has a service that you could buy, and they're going to tell you, "Hey, go here." But there are other services that you can purchase, or you can go to Rutgers Sea Temp online and look at it yourself. And like you say, you want to go where if there's a temperature change. So, for instance, the other day it was 76 to 73. Well, that's really good change because it's going to stack a lot of bait up too.
Okay.
But then let's say the chlorophyll is really clear further east, off the change. Well, then it'll be usually a darker blue versus a lighter blue. That darker blue is going to be clearer water, might be holding more bait, that they could ball up the bait.
Okay.
So those types of spots, and they will usually tell you the current direction that it's pushing. So if someone's pushing down south and you said, okay, well, I'm looking at it and tomorrow it's going to be, just so when you get there and the water's moved, because you looked at it one night and the next morning it's 8, 10, 12 hours later, it might have moved some. So you know about which direction you want to troll and work. And if you see that there's a spot where all the arrows are pointing to, for instance, an area that's some of the water's coming from the north, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit pushing up from south, and then maybe pushing, east. So you got like 3 little arrows. I'd probably try to do that because that's what we call a convergence, where they're all kind of converging right there.
Okay.
And that's usually really good for bait. And if you get a lot of bait, then you're going to get a lot of, marlin, dolphin, all those kinds of things.
Got it.
But I would say even this time of year, why it's so cool is that, there's some weeds out there. Now, if you go on some days, like yesterday, the wind was blowing so much, there was weeds everywhere. I had to pick up and run a couple times to get away from, because you can't fish if you got weeds on your bait, that's probably not a good thing.
Right. They're going to swim funny.
If you're lucky to get if you get a weed line, then I'd go down the weed line. And a lot of things happen. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were bailing dolphin on the weed line with little stuff, and I look out the corner of my eye, and here comes a 400-pound blue marlin right down there trying to eat those dolphins. So
a marlin will try to eat a
big
dolphin?
Hawaiian eye. Oh yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Wow. So we pitched him that bait, and next thing you know, I had a 400-pound blue marlin on. So I took my scissors and cut all my ballyhoo, all my dink stuff, and said, "Look, we got to go get that marlin," because he was jumping almost in front of the boat by then. So, and then we came back to the weed line, try to catch some more dolphin. But so you never know what's going on that weed line. One time we were going down there, and we saw a net into the weed line, and you could even see them. There were about 5 wahoo there. So we put some wire rigs down for some wahoo and trolled there, and we ended up catching 3 out of 5 wahoo. Man. So going down a weed line is always a good thing.
Got it. And, talking about the looking for those hard lines. So, like you're talking about, there's several different programs out there. I use the Hilton's Real-Time Navigator, and I'm looking at a sea surface temperature shot, and then I'm looking at chlorophyll, and I can really see where those two lines are kind of lining up right now, just offshore, somewhere between the Fingers and the Norfolk Canyon. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, I need to be looking at that, but then also look at the current direction and get a good idea of which direction the current's going so that, let's say today is, Wednesday night and I'm going offshore tomorrow morning. I need to kind of skate to where the puck is, so to speak, and base that off of the direction of the current. Is that correct?
That is correct. Now you could go right to where it was, and then okay, it's not there. Which direction did it say it was going? You could do that too.
Got it.
But it's not. I tell people all the time with two different things. One, fish have tails, not addresses, so they're always moving.
Yeah.
And when we're in the ocean, we're not like a pond where you can go over to Grandpa's dock and throw a little cork thing in here because there's a buried tree over there. We
Right.
don't have that luxury. Our current's always moving. So,
Right.
I mean, there was one day I had a beautiful weed line, and the next day I wanted to run back to it, so I did. Well, it wasn't there. And I'm
Right.
towing and running high speed all over the place looking for miles and miles and miles, and I could not find it. And when I got home, and there was a cloud cover, so I couldn't get a good shot to see about which way things are moving. When I got home, I could, and it was about 4 miles southwest of me. So I wasn't going to find it. So,
Got
because
it.
I'm thinking, okay, it's moving south because last time it was moving south. So it is helpful if you know what direction those currents are going.
Mhm.
For weed lines or other types of things too. But the good thing about trolling is you're going about 5 or 6 miles an hour. I mean, you're going a little bit slower for marlin we do,
Mhm.
because those baits are not like your tuna spread where you have a big head in front of your ballyhoo. So
Got it.
it's mostly nakeds ballyhoo. So you're flipping on top of the water. So I'm usually going 5.5 knots as opposed to maybe 6.5 or 7 for tuna. And I'm also pulling dredges. A
Mhm.
dredge is like a big school of fish
Mhm.
whether it's, I have one that's got what they call mud flaps, where like small looking tuna looking things,
Mhm.
with a big heavy weight. And you can put that on a downrigger, or I have them on things called LPs, which are electric that can reel them up. But for years I used just a regular pin downrigger, with a big heavy weight. Just put them even on an outboard. You just put it right
Mhm.
down. You don't have to run it through your rigger. You can run it straight down there. So it just, and you don't have to run two. I mean, we do, but you don't have to. Even putting one might help.
Mhm.
But you don't have to. I mean, as I said, I think a guy today in an outboard, I think caught 5, and I don't think he had a dredge. A
Mm.
dredge helps you because it's a big school of fish.
Right.
So
Big visual
this
thing for
time of
them to key
year,
in on.
that's correct. That's
Got it.
correct.
Got
Yep.
it.
You just got to make sure that you get it out of the water first, because you don't want to run over it with your boat.
Right.
And even experienced people do it. I mean, I fished with a guy that lost 2 of them. He kept forgetting to get it out of the water. He ran over 2 of them.
Oh,
That's about a $200 mistake or a $400 mistake every time you run it over.
I tell you,
And
man.
and he was in a big boat.
Yeah, those
So
offshore lures are just not cheap. So I mean, every time that I'm, crimping or tying, I'm really like triple checking because, an accident that results in a $170 spreader bar, going to the bottom of the ocean is a hard pill to swallow. Uh,
oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
in the
yep.
currents, like right now, generally speaking, what direction are those offshore currents moving this week?
Mostly they're moving south. I mean,
Okay.
and I think mostly things come in, and if you look at the real big picture, some of these eddies and things spin up above us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last couple of weeks they've been crushing the marlin, um, and some of these canyons above us, and then those things will filter down through us. And sometimes they will just, some other marlin from the Gulf Stream and stuff will swim in.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean we have to wait on it. I mean, they're right now, there were boats today that were south of Virginia Beach, did great.
Mm.
Straight east, did great. Northeast, did okay, and some did great. So, you can't get frustrated with, I had 2 buddies today that were fishing near each other, and one was 5 for 8 and one was 0 for 1. You're like, oh my gosh, the guy for 0 for 1 doesn't know what he's doing. No, that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. It's just fishing is fishing.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and it's they're not sitting in one spot and you control by this tree and there they are.
Yeah, there's two.
It's
There's
not
two.
that easy.
No, there's two things you've said that have always stuck with me. One is, fish have tails, not addresses. And then two was, if there's, say, a fad or a really good buoy that you went out and caught a bunch of mahi off of, there's no grocery ferry that comes out at night and restocks the mahi for you the next day. So you always
That's
got to
right.
be
That's
on the
right.
move. In your last couple of trips, what are kind of run through the different species that you guys have caught besides the marlin? Have you seen any tuna or mahi
Oh,
out there?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, most people always want tuna,
Hmm.
and I even saw some people on the internet saying, "Hey, what do I do for tuna?" And I'm thinking, well, you can go back to some places where we caught some, but the herd is being thinned. They're not restocking the tuna pond, so to speak.
Right.
One, so there's fewer of them, and it's bigger area. They're spreading out, and the water's hot, so they don't always come up as much as
Mm.
hot as much. But now the water might start cooling down, so there's certainly going to be an opportunity for tuna. And during that marlin tournament this past weekend, they caught a 75-pounder one day. So why right
Wow.
in the middle of the tunas? I mean, right in the middle of the marlin. So they're out there. I marked some just yesterday. I know I did, but they
Mm.
didn't come up. They were down deep, about 40 fathoms, but they could. But just the last few trips. Now we've missed about 4 or 5 days with the hurricane, so been a couple trips after, and there were quite a few trips before that. But even in August, I guess that was August 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. I had a guy that comes in town for 2 days, and he
Hmm.
loves to go tuna fishing, but that's not ideal
Hmm.
this time of year in August. So the first day we went out there looking for stuff for floating and go marlin fishing, and we caught him at his limited dolphin, and oh my gosh, it's one of those days where that we found a couple more boards where we could have caught more. We had to drive away from 20 and 30 dolphin behind the boat because I already
Oh,
had my limit. I'm not going to catch over my limit, which was painful because other days you wish you could get them.
oh, I know.
And then
Yeah.
we had marlin, and that day we had five encounters on those, and jumped a couple off, and one of our guys, which happens, was trying to get into the chair a certain way, and that one didn't go very well. But anyway, so we got 2 marlin. We took some great videos, underwater videos, which were great, some stills. I tried to send you some of those stills that were really,
Oh, I'd love to see that.
really cool. And he had some videos too. I need to get the password again for the videos because I've been so busy I didn't get to it, and it was time sensitive. So I need to get another code to see some of the videos he had. But so that was the first day. Well, the second day, there were a couple tuna caught in there on the fingers. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't, I knew he liked tuna. It wasn't going to be let's go out there and catch our limit of tuna. But it was also going to be, he'd like to catch some tuna. So I said, this is what we can do. We can do the same thing, or we can go in here and fish for tuna. Well, I figured he'd want to go for tuna, which he did. But
Yeah.
knowing there weren't a lot, but we were very, very fortunate that day. There was only 2 anglers, and we did catch 6 tunas. We caught them their limit. I don't consider that it certainly wasn't, you wouldn't call it a boat limit. Oh, I got a ton of them, but there's
Yeah.
only 2 of
Yeah.
them. So 6
6 is
tuna was
good.
great. They like to, you know, bring all the fixings, and so we had a nice raw tuna feast on the way back in.
Mm.
He took some videos of the tunas too underwater. And it was really nice. Also caught a big gaffer dolphin. It was like 23 pounds. So it was a nice day. It was probably only about 10 or 12 bites. And whereas, if I'm offshore and I find a float, I could catch, 54 dolphin.
Right.
The limit for dolphin is 10 per person, but it's only 54 for the boat. So if you have 10 people on the boat, you
You can
still can
only
only
keep.
keep 54. You can't keep 100.
Got it.
You're
Got
right.
it.
And you don't need that man. There's a lot of meat there, so
Oh, yeah.
people probably catch more than they really need once you start cleaning them and freezing them and all that stuff. But for
Yeah.
the 2 days, we also went bottom. That first day we went bottom fishing too. So we caught our limited tiles, limited dolphins. We caught 2 white marlin. Had a great day. And then the next day we went to a completely different spot, 35, 40 miles away,
Wow.
and to catch some tuna. And then we did catch a nice big gaffer there. But different gear like that. You almost have to pre-plan that, because
Hmm.
on the one day I have all my white marlin rigs out, and I'm using my 80s for a pitch bait and a big blue marlin bait. And then the next day, I'm cutting off some of that stuff on my 80s so I can run a spreader bar with
Hmm.
and two spreader bars on my 80s. So, it's different. And then I pulled all my 50s out and put all my little stuff away.
Mm.
And then another trip that we had actually the very next day, that customer brings some 12-year-olds, and he really wanted to go catch dolphin and then go tile fishing. And then he said, if we have time, we can try for some tuna. And I told him, I said, well, the tuna are completely different from where the dolphin and the tile fish are going to go. So we're probably not going to be able to get back. I can't run 35 miles after I'm way south and run 30, to
Right.
fingers way north. So,
Yeah.
but we were able to catch lots of tiles and caught lots of dolphin for them. So we had one white marlin on, but that one jumped off. So it's been really good fishing.
Good.
Yesterday we
I'm
caught
just glad to hear it.
20 nice dolphin, and had a wahoo cut us off that jumped out of the water, so they got to see about a 60-pound wahoo about 25 feet behind the boat, and that was cool. Other than we didn't get to kill him because he got
Mm.
away. But that's what it's all about, really, is in fishing is making memories. Making memories with your friends or with your family if you're bringing kids, or your dad making memories. I mean, it's all about this, like you and I were talking about even before the show. It's all the cool things and great experiences you have fishing. You don't hear people say, "Oh, I had a great experience. I was sitting on a couch watching TV." you
That's,
know, you
that's
gotta
so
you gotta
true.
get out there, and you just never know what you're gonna see. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's the only
I
sort
mean,
of
yes,
unpopulated part of the planet that we can still go enjoy God's creation, sort of untainted. And like you said, you never know what you're going to see. It could be a great white shark one day. It could be a whale that you've never seen before, or a huge school of dolphin jumping out of the water, whatever. It's just the prospects that are out there. You got to go see it for yourself.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Usually turtles go down, but this turtle didn't. So we were within about 10 feet of this big monster turtle yesterday, so the charter got to see that, and some big pilot whales, some of the real big guys. I mean, you're talking about 15-foot big, huge animals, close to the boat. So on top of all the fishing, so
Mm,
like you say, you just get to see a lot of cool things. Every trip's
that's
usually different.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's
Um,
exciting to hear. If you could go out, and pick one thing to go target this time of year, what would be your favorite thing to go target and why?
well, I'd say Marlin, and you've got if this is the time of year that you need to do it. You can't, and there's special times. Like if it's somebody who really wants to go tuna, I usually tell them that's great. Call me in mid-June to mid-July. We're go tuna fishing.
Right.
Um, Now the marlin for the next month ought to be good, and the reason is that all of a sudden it goes from total boredom to total chaos. And what I mean by that is, like, just like yesterday, I'm yelling, there's a marlin on a green teaser. It's always better to point out where it is. And I try to get rid of that bad habit. Well, there he is. There, who is? Where is it? It's a big ocean. you know.
Yeah.
So, if you see a marlin on your right short rigger, it's yell it's on your right short rigger.
Yeah.
But it was on the green teaser. So then everybody's looking. The mate's running to get the flat line to try to get it over there. I'm pulling the thing in. The fish is pulling on me some. I'm pulling on him some. You see him 15, 20 feet behind the boat. He's all lit up with his pecs out to the side. They're neon. The water's crystal clear. And they get to see this fish going so fast. It's unbelievable, from bait to bait to bait before he finally, jumps
Oh,
on one. So, and then sometimes they jump, sometimes they don't jump. Every marlin's a little bit different, and sometimes it's depending on how they're hooked and stuff too. But you get to see all that too. So, Very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we
Folks,
use very light tackle, so we're not horsing these fish in.
right.
We're using 30-pound line and 5 pounds, 6 pounds of drag. So
Mm.
it takes a while.
Yeah. If folks are listening and they're hearing these stories that you're sharing and the fish turning neon and darting around between the baits and they're like, okay, I've heard enough. I've got to get out there and go experience this for myself. What's the best way that they can reach you, Captain Russ, to get booked on Top Notch to go out and experience this for themselves?
Well, I appreciate that. It's I'd call my cell. I mean, you can go to my website, which is fishtopnotch.com, and there is a way for you to email me through that. But I'm fishing so many days that call my cell, which is 757-681-8068. And I had, half a dozen people call me today saying, Russ, I'm going tomorrow in my boat. Where do you think I should go? I mean, that's fine too. Within reason, I can't send them all to the same spot. I have 20 people in one little spot.
Right.
But that's understandable too. And some of these guys have fished with me before now they have their own boats and stuff too. But now really is the time to go marlin fishing, and always look for things that are floating, because they may have 2 dolphin, they might have 30 dolphin, they might have 100 dolphin hanging around them. And that's a lot of fun too. If you watch these, we call them bailers that are 6, 8 pound dolphin, and they
Hmm.
will come right to your boat. So a trick there is to keep one in the water. So keep one in the water and you keep feeding out baits, and then the whole school will stay around that one. You might have them around your boat for a while, which is
That
cool to
sounds like
see
a
and easier to catch.
I was gonna say it
Catch.
sounds like a
Yeah.
good way to get a limit real quick. Captain Russ, it's always a pleasure having you on. I just feel like we get to sit back and just learn, and it's great to be able to listen to someone who's got so many years of experience and kind of just guide us down the right path of the right type of thinking, the right kind of data to pay attention to, and I really took away today just how important planning is in order to have the right stuff on board, the right tackle, the right gear, and have the right sort of location planned out so that you're not trying to go out there and do 7 things in a day. You're going to go out there and focus on the things that you plan to execute, do it, have a good time. Any other quick stories that you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up tonight?
Well, yeah, I think you touched on something right near the end here, which is preparation. I mean, if you knew the amount of hours that my mate spends preparing all of his stuff, like you
Mm,
talked about bailing dolphin. We have a spool that has got a bunch of bailing rigs, one hooked through one rig, and it's a 7 foot. So when you break one off or somebody swallows it, you unhook it, you roll out the next leader, and you put it on, and you're back fishing. And
oh
so
wow.
there's things like that, the attention to detail of, we're rigging a lot of baits before we go out there, because you can get hit with 7 baits and boom, there you go. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of cleanup. We're probably spending 2 hours cleaning up at least, and we're probably spending at least an hour before they get there. But in some cases, that he's spent 3, 4, 5 hours preparing for that one trip. So that's another reason why we specialize. Is it's hard to specialize in 20 different species when you
Mm,
need to spend a lot of effort towards one. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is that a really good fisherman, good captain of a friend of mine, and said that instilled in my mate, which is really good, and that is you need to be prepared every day to catch a fish of a lifetime,
mm,
because you could.
I
I
like
mean, you
that.
got to be prepared. If that 1,000-pound blue marlin jumps on there, what are you going to do? You got to be prepared. So if you're not, then you'll be the one telling the story. It was awesome until he got away, or it was awesome until he broke the line,
Yeah.
or I was gonna do this, but we froze. You kind of have to be prepared.
Right.
That
Right.
that like today, a good friend of mine went all day long, and it was having a terrible day, terrible day. Well, the last hour and a half, he caught five white marlin. So you
Boom.
come back and say, "Oh my God, it was a great day. It was a great day." Well,
Yeah.
how about the first six? So you can't give up. You got to keep on doing your plan,
Yeah.
and it'll come together.
I think that the takeaway I hear is the difference between telling a coulda, shoulda, woulda story versus showing somebody a picture and a video is preparation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, Captain Russ, always a
Yep.
pleasure, man. Thank you so much for spending some time with our listeners this evening and sharing about all things offshore fishing. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you much. Appreciate it. Anytime.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap up an awesome action packed and educationally packed segment there with Captain Russ. I hope you guys learned something. I learned a ton. Definitely check him out online. Give him a call, like he said. Follow them on the social media. Great boat to get out on and have a first, a Class A experience. So, folks, stick around for a word from our sponsors making this great content free for you each and every week, and we'll be back with you real soon. Whether you're hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. They're family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, and pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites bait and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State, USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation. All right, you guys. I'd like to welcome back to the show one of our very good friends of the show from up the bridge a short way up there in Tangier Island Sound area, Captain CL Marshall. How we doing tonight, Cap? Welcome back.
And we're doing good, Luke, man. Thank you for having us this week. Man, we've got some exciting news to share, that's for sure.
I'm excited to chat about it. If folks, have been paying attention to the socials, they probably already saw it. But for those who haven't seen it, what's breaking news in Tangier Sound Charters world?
Well, I guess the big news is well, the red drum bite's been pretty good, but we'll get into that a little bit later. After much trepidation and through an extensive selection process, the Mako and I have parted ways, and I'm pleased to say she's got an excellent home over near where you are, over in the Rappahannock River. She's over there, and I think she's the right guy got her, and I think he's going to take good care of her, as I did, and as Brad Foxwell did before me. But in my never-ending quest to grow up and be like Brad Foxwell, I had a great opportunity through Blue Water Yachts to jump into a Parker.
Nice.
And I did. It's a 2510 with the full transom and a 300 motor on the back, which I can't say the name of because it doesn't begin with S yet, but soon will be. But we're real pleased with it. So far, we brought her home 2 weeks ago. We put her in service the very next day.
Nice.
And we fished with her ever since. Today was the first day she had a break. To give you an idea of what ready shape this boat was in, Luke. Again, through Blue Water, we were able to come home, and they serviced it prior to me buying it, oil changed and all that, and I'm having an oil change done today. So,
wow.
We've been rolling.
That's awesome. That's 100 hours, right?
It is 100 hours.
Yeah.
And it's been good. The boat's bigger, a lot bigger. The full transom and the bracket on the back. Well, I don't know what kind of bracket it is, but that thing's 3 feet long, dude. And I can put an angler back there. I can put a cooler back there. It's much easier to board and to load and unload the boat through that off of a dock. And I got a place to sit. And that's a big deal for me.
That is a big deal, especially on those rides out and in. I'm looking at some pictures. We'll drop a picture in the social media post this week, but it's a beautiful big boat. It's got a nice big T-top on it. Still tons of room up in the bow and in the aft to cast. And like you said, I mean, that platform back there is huge. An angler could be on either side. I think about it for like throwing a cast net for bait or shrimping. What would you say from a difference in ride, how would you compare the 2510 Parker to your 24 Mako? Or your Mako was a 231, right?
P31, and that's a great question, Luke. Um, uh, the Mako, that thing was an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And I don't know of any other boat that I'll ever get in that I won't compare to the ride I had in the Mako.
Hmm.
That's an absolute beast. But what I found was, especially fishing down where you fished, a few times that I've been down the bridge tunnel, and when I was, trying to wreck fish offshore, over top of the structure, and all flounder fishing and sea bass fishing in the Mako. And even in the bay at anchor, there were many times when I would take some waves over the stern, and they're designed to do that, and they're designed to handle that. And it really wasn't a big issue in my mind, but I could see some concern in my client's eyes.
Right.
When they're fighting a fish, they got water up, on their feet, and they're like, "Are we sinking?" Well, no, just keep doing what you're doing. I'll handle that.
Right.
And,
Right.
so, the full transom is a big deal for me there. I added a new trolling motor to her. I added another one of the Minn Kotas. I had to get a little longer shaft on this one. And I've named my last trolling motor, I named Rosie from the Jetsons.
Okay.
And this one, I think I've named Ophelia. So,
Okay. Philia?
yeah, Ophelia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ophelia.
Yep.
Got it.
And
Yeah. It can be tough for people to get used to, the classic Mako was designed to be used to run like just a little bit offshore there out of Florida. And part of that low transom design in the back was that if you did take a large wave over the bow, that water would essentially just rush back and, out the scuppers or over that low transom out the back. And it really was not ever an issue. And like you said, if you're on anchor or especially if you're backing down at all, I mean, you're going to take some water. I mean, I've had water up to my lean seat before.
yeah,
And it's a little bit unnerving, but you got to remember, like, just as quickly and easily as that water came in, it's going to go
just
right back
went.
out because there's nothing to trap it in there like a full closed transom bracket. So, there was some genius to that design. But if you're not used to it, I can attest
Yeah.
it's a little alarming to be standing there in ankle deep water and you're like, what's going on?
As far as the ride goes, I haven't had her in any real rough seas so far. One of the last trips I had with the Mako, I had these two ladies they were from Bradenton, Florida, and they wanted to go to Tangier, and it was southwest in 20, and stacked up 3 to 4 on the way, and we left in Hancock and we went to Tangier, and hell, we even went to Smith Island that day, and we got to Tangier, and one of the ladies she says, that was a lot better ride than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. The windshield got wet once, and that was my fault. And she looked at me like, didn't come to find out. Her family manufactures caravel boats down in
Oh.
Florida. And she said, airboats aren't designed to do this. And I said, yeah, but they're really great on the lakes and rivers,
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
The
but
design of a Mako is just hard to beat. And I remember recently talking with Captain Bart White from Seatow, and they're able to pick the boats that they want to turn into towboats. And he
yeah,
said that if they're going to turn a boat into a towboat, that one of their top picks is a Mako because of the density of the construction in terms of being able to bump into things and other boats and pilings and stuff. And then, of course, the ride. And it's just hard to beat that old, heavy, solid manufacturing. And, I know I've got some wet foam in there, but I just like to think it adds to the ride. So I just, I let it ride, so to speak.
yeah. This Parker, I'm going to tell you, she's much longer from the end of the. She's damn near 4 feet longer by the time you factor in everything, and she seems to stretch out over a little bit. And she's a 1.5 feet wider.
And
So
that's a big deal in terms of just coolers and walking space and room to set things and tackle boxes and all of the above. I mean, you've been growing your operation and
yeah,
you were due for an upgrade in terms of some of the creature comforts that you needed out there, especially being out on the water so often every day. I think your skin probably will appreciate that T-top dramatically.
I'm really loving the saltwater wash dyeing, man. I had it's a wonderful tool, man, and we've
Yeah.
but when it comes down to it, the boat itself, it is a tool.
Hmm.
Me, it's what I use. Like a farmer uses a tractor. This is what I do,
Yeah.
and we struggled a little bit when we first got her, trying to figure out, how to fish it and how, what she likes and what she doesn't like. Hey, the first thing I did, the very first trip I had, I brought her home on a Friday. The Mako was sold on a Saturday, and that Sunday we went into operation with that boat. And the very first thing I did was I put it in 18 inches of water. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. And the people with me were like, are you sure we can do this? And I'm like, no, I am not sure we can do this.
That's why we're testing it out. You got to go.
Yes.
You got to
And
go try it out.
we rolled right up on this grass flat and caught the bejesus out of some rockfish, man. Caught them on top water. It was early morning. It was calm. And, the thing I like most about top water, Luke, is the sound.
Yeah.
On an early morning when whoosh, and you don't even have to see it, what happened.
Yeah.
And I live for that. I hope I see it tomorrow morning.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I do want to get into some fishing.
Yeah.
Before we transition, man, I just want to say, I know it takes a ton of hard work to buy a boat, own a boat, maintain a boat, and then also to sell and buy another boat. So, congrats on all the hard work paying off and getting into the boat that you're like you said, the tool that's right for the job as you've grown your operation, and you want to have a little bit more comfort, a couple more tools at your disposal, and of course that added width to be able to do a little bit more. So excited to see what you guys do with that thing in the upcoming fall and winter season.
I tell you, we started off with it. The top water bite continues to roll on. Thankfully, the Maryland rockfish season has returned, which is good. The hiatus there, I think since the last time we talked, that hiatus had just started, Luke, and we were able to find a really dependable bite on big bluefish out in the mid bay between the American Mariner and the mouth of the Potomac over right along the channel edges. And that bite, it was all top water for us, and it was incredible. Fish feeding voraciously on top, bubbling, just it was amazing. We lost some lures,
Right.
That's the cost of doing business.
Yep.
But we were using those Lonely Angler topwater lures on 100-pound mono. And
Hold on, 100-pound mono?
yeah,
For what class size of fish are we talking about?
5 to 8 pounds.
So help me out. I mean,
Yeah.
why
I know
100
that
pound? I'm
because
perplexed.
the lures are like $10 and they bite through the line so
Okay, got it.
quickly.
Got it.
And
Got it.
the fish are feeding so voraciously. I mean, they've got these glass minnows and menhaden pinned on the surface. The water is actually, I'll send you a look on my your Facebook page. You'll see it.
Yeah.
The water's boiling with fish. And so does it matter really what you throw? Probably not. We had, single hooks on the top water lures. They
Yeah.
were on those Lonely Angler zipsters. They were a little bigger, so you could cast them better. They're adorned with single hooks, which makes it easier on me. And when I say easier on me, many times we'd have multiple fish hooked up.
Yeah.
So if I had to deal with a treble hook tangled in a net, which or whatever, or even in a fish, it would take me a while to get that out.
Right.
But with those lures, I could move through the fish pretty quickly, and it was not uncommon to catch 20 to 30 a day. It was a lot better during the weekdays, Luke, when there wasn't as many people there.
Right, naturally. So, okay, so talk me through. So I understand the 100-pound when you're going after those bluefish
Yep.
because it's going to keep you from losing those expensive lures. And you were also talking about the way you had that top water plug set up. So you're treble in the front under the belly, but then just
Yes.
single swing hook on the back.
Yes.
So I'm understanding why that would help with the net, because if you get tangled in the net, it is considerably easier to get one treble out of the net than it is to get two at the same time. I think we call that double treble.
Double treble.
Double
Yep.
treble. But in terms of where the fish typically hit and where they get hooked, are we fishing that for trout or for bluefish with that single hook in the back?
Single hook in the back. I use that for rockfish,
Okay.
and I also use it for the blues as well.
Got
On
it.
the blues, primarily on the blues, I'll have two single hooks.
Okay.
The one that we looked at a little earlier had a treble hook in the front and a single on the back, and that's the standard setup that I use for rock fish. And the other thing that we had a couple weeks ago was a really good topwater bite on speckled trout, and that was really cool. We had that, and I think tomorrow the conditions will be right to encounter that again. But transitioning from that, we moved to back to red drum fishing again, which is really one of my favorites to do.
I see a
We
lot
do
of
it a little
big
bit different up here.
I was gonna say I
Yeah,
see a lot of big red drum in
different.
your Facebook post, and I see a lot of big smiling faces holding those things up. So I am curious though, with that topwater lure, whether it's for bluefish or for rockfish, you talked about fish boiling and they had the menhaden pinned up against the surface. What kind of like features were you noticing, whether that was water depth, temperature, or surrounding structure? What are you noticing when you see the bait pinned up and you are getting good bites? What is happening around you geographically that's noteworthy?
Well, the first thing that's happening around me is there's probably a shitload of other boats that are running toward it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So there are games to be played there, but in terms of bottom features and the like, water temperature is a big driving factor. The main stem of the Chesapeake Bay doesn't get as warm as the shallower water parts.
Okay.
It still gets warm, but it's a few degrees cooler. Okay, I don't know if that has anything do with it, but it seems like every year those are in the same place during the hottest part of the summer. They're always there. Now, conversely, this winter, when it gets cold and you're looking at 34, 35-degree water in the shallows, it's going to be near 48 there in that main base stem. And that the activity, the birds, and the bait, the prey bait will be out there as well.
Got
The
it.
menhaden will be there as well. So in that main base stem, it's a little deeper, and it tends not to fluctuate quite as much as some of the surrounding water. Now, does that have anything to do with it? I don't know, but that's just what I've seen. In terms of water depth, they're generally on the edges or near the edges of the channel is where they're looking. Anywhere from 30 to 50 feet. The channel out there drops down to 80. It's pretty deep.
Oh wow.
But now this time of year, over the next few weeks, I think we'll see a better bite for those bluefish, Luke, um, around structure. And I experienced that just this week. Fishing around some shallow water rock piles, old lighthouses, target ships, and those things. We've found some bluefish hanging around there. I don't know if they're exiting or coming in the bay. Don't know, but they have been a little more structure orientated lately, and that is kind of nice because with the breaking schools of fish, there's a lot of running involved there, and knowing where they're going to be, it adds some economy to the day.
Yeah, and that's where paying to be on a charter pays because you're out there every single day gathering that intel and paying attention to those data points to know where to go to hopefully head them off and get them located. So transitioning into redfish, and
Yeah,
obviously I see some big bull reds. I think there were, I think in this one post that you guys had from the 20th, am I reading this correctly that there was
yeah.
16 different
16
species?
different species. We caught a hammer sheepshead, 12 and change. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, I'd like to tell you that was a targeted approach, but I had a whole peeler on an 8/0 circle hook, and that's what bit it. We were drum fishing, and when it came to the boat, I was quite excited to see
Yeah,
that, Luke.
absolutely.
But we had 16 different species on that trip. No, granted, a lot of them were grind fish. But we had a 27-inch speckled trout, 26-inch speckled trout that day. We had several other
Wow.
speckled trout. We had a good number of bluefish in that 5 to 8 pound range. We had
Yeah.
um, I don't know, 3 or 4 red drum that night, big ones. Uh, One of them was Jamungus. Uh,
Humongous, is that a classification by
it's a
the
10 year
angler?
same first. Tangier Sign Charter's copyrighted word.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know if it was like IGFA or something, but I also noticed that you guys have a secret weapon on board and it's what is this lure here? Natural light? Is that the
Yeah,
natural light? Is
yeah.
that the secret
I,
sauce?
I earned that one that night, buddy. I did.
16 species. I mean, that's incredible. But I do want to
Yeah, I
go.
mean, we had some rare. We had some stargazers. We had puffers. We had croakers and spot and pigfish. You know, trying to catch bait for those reds, which we do. We don't take bait. What we take, we'd take some crabs with us, and we have to catch our own bait because I like them fresh. And I like them live. I like to use a 8/0 circle hook with a about 2 feet, 2.5 feet of 80 pound on a regular
Mhm.
fish finder rig. One thing that I do, which is a little bit different, is I use a 8 ounce, even when I don't need it. I use a very heavy sinker to kind of pin it to the bottom.
Okay.
That way, I can fan we fish 6 rods, and I can put them out behind us when we're bait fishing.
Oh, and you
But
know that there's some separation between your lines and you're covering sort of it's almost like a offshore spread, but
it is.
stationary at like a certain target area. I do want to go back to what you said about that sheep's head though, because you said it very quickly and then I thought about it and I was like, wait a second. And sheep's head, have very small mouths in retrospect to or in comparison to like a red drum, for example. So the fact that that sheep's head ate off of an 8/0 circle hook is incredible. I mean, that's a big hook to get in that fish's mouth.
I wonder how many bites I'm missing.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Because how many
but
times do they try to wrap their mouth around that bait and that hook, and it's not getting glued up. They're just getting a couple of
well,
nibbles and moving on.
most of the time, Brad, most of the time, Luke, what I'm doing is I'm using live bait, and what I'll do, I'll trim the tail so the spot can't swim real well. So
Ah,
he's easy to catch. I'll do that, and it's with the. I'll only use a whole peeler or something like that when I'm running low on not call it the other bait I need, or just do it kind of sparingly. But I think I'm going to do more of it here.
all right. We had a little bit of a fight with the cell tower there, but we're back. So you were talking about we were talking about how it was kind of uncanny that the sheep's head bit a bait on an 8/0 hook, and you were saying that you were going to start changing some things up.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, I love that circle hook. The adult's been good to us on drum, but having caught that and some other sheep's head, over top of that same rocky bottom, it makes me think that there are more there. I know that fishing with Josh Barfield recently, we had one that was 10 and change, and that one was 12 and something, and so it makes me think. I mean, how many bites am I missing there?
Right.
So what I've done on the rods that I've got set up for tomorrow is I've gone a little bit smaller circle hook. I've got some 6/0 down there and a 7, and I'm going to give that a whirl. I know that I'm going to get it. Excuse me. I know that I'm going to face an uphill battle with some of the pickers, the puffers and croakers and spot and everything, but I think that'll be worth it to catch a few more of them sheepies.
Oh yeah, and they're so good to eat, man. Those sheep's head are probably one of the best tasting fish that the bay has to offer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love them. I love them. That's for sure. So that's been good, and the red drum fishing in the deep water has been it's getting better every night. Last night we went picked off a couple, and that was good. Um, and I'd like to say there's a rhyme or reason to where they're called every night, but if it is, I haven't figured that out yet. Uh,
Right.
there are some places we tend to have success. Last night I had a couple. Matt Abel at Seahawk. Matt had 5 or 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he was south of me a little bit. North of me a little bit. It wasn't so good. But then just the day prior, I burned them pretty good, and they didn't do as well south of me. So I just think it's a matter of just going,
Yeah.
just putting your time in, and taking what she gives you every day.
Yeah, and I think that, hearing you talk about, even just day to day as somebody who's out there fishing all the time, that you still have a willingness to adapt and say, hey, you know what? We got a couple of these bites. Let's step down to the size of the hook, kind of staying in a sort of continuous improvement cycle where you're willing to kind of debrief internally at the end of the day and go, what went well? What could I improve on? Hey, you know
Hmm.
what? We might get more of these bites if we had smaller hooks, so let's go ahead and put that into the arsenal there and see how it goes. And, so the red drum, obviously, assuming you're still using that larger hook when you're fishing for the red drum, or are you going to go after this with the 6-aught as well?
Well, I had a bunch of those mustad. I don't know what number they are, but one of your offshore guys will know. Whatever that 7-aught hook is they use for the white marlins.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of them left over, a bunch of them, and I used them last year with great success on red drum.
Okay.
I figured if they can catch a white marlin, they sure as hell will be able to catch a red drum.
Right.
And,
Right.
and they did.
Yeah.
The issue I had with them, they're relatively small shank size.
Okay.
And I was having some fish that were hooked a little deeper than I was comfortable with. So that's why I went back to the eagle claws with a longer shank on them. But I think for sheepies, I think they'd be just fine.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I
Especially if
wasn't.
you know you're in an area where sheep's head could be hanging around. And correct me if I'm wrong, you caught those sheep's head while you were targeting red drum?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Very interesting. I mean, they eat a similar bait, so that makes sense because you were using what, peelers?
But no, I was not. I was for the sheep's head. I had peelers on, but the area in which I'm fishing, it's an old ballast pile where the sailing ships in the day would come up in the Chesapeake and they would dump their ballast stones there. So the
Oh,
bottom,
interesting.
yeah. So it's sheep's head heaven, man. It's a place that a sheep's head's going to want to be. Um,
So that's a really interesting thing that you just mentioned because I believe, and I could be wrong, I think in my backyard I've actually got some of the old granite ballast stones that came out of a building in downtown Norfolk before it was like an old warehouse building that somebody was doing some reconstruction on, and the inside of the building still had some of the original streets, and I say streets in quotes, from like the 1800s when I think back in the day, those sailing ships would actually trade the ballast stones, which actually became the sort of cobblestone streets in
yeah.
exchange for goods, and then go back and forth. So I guess when there wasn't the opportunity to trade, the ballast stones just had to go and get dumped. And ballast stones, quite literally, meaning that those ships couldn't sail empty because they would just get tossed around. So they would weigh their
Mhm.
bellies down with those granite stones. Um,
And when they were trying to get in the upper reaches of the Pocomoke sign and the Tangier sign, they had to offload those so they could have a
float.
shallower draft.
That's so interesting. And so
And that
that's
that's
created
from
natural reef.
and that exactly they were doing like reef jobs way before the VMRC.
And had no idea that they were doing it. That's really,
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, what's really interesting is where it's located is the current rips through there pretty strong. So in many areas where that same situation has probably occurred, they've been sanded over.
Okay.
But the current's ripping so strong here
Keeps
that
them exposed.
yeah, and ever since I was a kid, it's been a strong place to fish.
So what you're saying is that for more than 2 or 3 centuries, it's been really good. Just kidding.
Yeah, pretty
Since
much.
you were a kid, back when Christopher Columbus was sailing.
Yeah,
I'm
when I had
kidding. You're a young man by all intents
when,
and purpose.
when me and Moses used to go, man, that was one of our best
Is
spots.
that how you figured out that they were still there? You had them part the Potomac
Yeah,
River so you could just take a quick peek?
it was a great trip. It was me, Moses, and Keith Richards.
That's too funny, man. Well, if I'm out there looking, I mean, are you able to see the rubble pile? Like, can you tell that it's the ballast stones by looking on your plotter, or is it just kind of like do you see it on the relief shading, or do you just see it on your bottom machine?
Well, look, fortunately, I know where it is and I know the
Okay.
boundaries of it. But when you're looking on your bottom machine, you can see it.
Okay.
You can see it. If you've got a halfway decent machine, and most of them are these days, you can see you can see the stones there. If you have something with side scan imaging, you can see it better.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Even on some of the oyster rocks that I fish that are heavily populated with oysters, you can see the cragginess of the oysters there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's just 20 feet of water, so you got a real good shot at it.
Okay. And that obviously all those little, stones, I say little, but they're like 10 inches across in some cases. It creates a lot of nice little nooks and crannies for shellfish and small
Hmm.
crabs and all that stuff, which is obviously a magnet for sheep's head
Yeah.
and redfish. Before we wrap up today, though, I really want to get for our listeners, like we're kind of right on the very cusp of fall. Like
Yes.
right, if I were to start planning my fall tackle box for targeting speckled trout primarily,
Hmm.
what's going to be like my my top pick or two to have in my arsenal ready to go. And what am I tying it on to? Is it a, 2500 7.0? Like what, talk me through my fall, number
Well,
one. This is the rod, reel, and setup I should be taking out there to go
yeah.
fishing.
Well, if for the fall, you have a great chance to encounter puppy drum. You have a great chance to encounter rockfish, speckled trout, and a wide variety of other species as well. The fall's my favorite time to fish because there's variety, and the fish are aggressive and they're hungrier. It seems to be. We're out of the dog days of summer where they're
Hmm.
just kind of lazing around, and you got to trick them into a bite. These fish are going to be active. They're going to be playing offense, and I like that.
Yeah.
So if we're talking artificial bait fishing, casting, so in terms of rod and reel, I would say whatever feels natural to you, whatever is comfortable. There's still some bait casting people out there. One of the new products that I seen recently that I really liked, it was a spinning reel I had in my hand today, and I think I'm going to own some soon.
Okay.
It's put out by St. Croix, and it's a reel. I think it's called Seven. It's the name
Okay.
of the reel. It's a pretty nice little setup, very economical, and it's a very simplistic spinning reel. A lot of the overkill that they did in development with some other reels uh,
Hmm.
is kind of eliminated here. It's very similar to a pen, but anyhow, 2,500, or 3,000 is a great reel to have. I like a little longer rod, and something that maybe an 1/8 ounce action that I can still cast a small 3/8 ounce bucktail or swim plastic, or even a X-Wrap 10, which has been a really good lure for me lately. But I would definitely have something that I can flip that out there. Line
Yeah.
choice, I'm a braid guy. I think most people are now.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I don't know if there's one that's any better than the other. I tend to use whatever Seahawk has the most of. You
Yeah.
know, that's
And I would
yeah,
say with braid, the best braid is fresh braid.
yeah,
There's a lot of times that you just kind of get in that habit of like not respooling your reels until you actually have a tackle failure. Annual respooling is probably the best bet.
yeah.
And
One of the
I'm guilty of it too because I've got two season old braid on my cobia rods right now. They need to be changed out.
You
But I
do
am
know you can spin that around and put the used part on the bottom of another reel and the fresh part up top.
Now listen to you, Mister. So this is how you afforded the new boat was, 80
Yes.
years of reusing the braid
Well, yeah,
instead of buying new. That's
yeah,
an
but
interesting. I didn't think about that.
yeah. So
You're right.
all you got to do is get you a rod, a reel that's got an empty spool on it, and when you crank it on, go buy yourself another reel because you need one. Uh,
Right.
and
And then
when you
just transfer them all and then only respool one.
and when you crank it on, the used part goes on the bottom, and the fresh part. So I don't know what you use, Luke, but I would wager that you've got 150 yards that has never seen daylight.
Oh yeah, 100%. You never get spooled. That's I'm going to do that. Thank you for that tip. That's probably the best tip I've gotten in a long time because it saves me money.
It
All these other
does.
tips I end up going, yeah, you know what? I really need that. I'm gonna have to go buy it. These seven reels that you're talking about, they really are affordable. They're all sub $200 and they they look fantastic. So I mean, in terms of like how like drag sometimes you can tell the difference between a quality reel and a Walmart reel. So when you're pulling that drag out, if you were to compare it to like a pin slammer or one of those other like quote unquote quality reels, like noticeable difference or same
Yeah,
class?
same class, Penn Battle 3, Slammer, same class. But more to come. They get battle tested beginning tomorrow.
Okay.
So we're excited about that. And the cool thing about them too is they've made a promise to I know to Seahawk up here that I deal with exclusively, and to other vendors that they're going to have parts. They're going to have
That's a
parts.
big deal.
It's a
Yep.
huge deal because when I go to my guy and I'm like, Dean, I broke this. Well, I don't want to hear. I can't get the part. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I want to hear. Okay, I got it. And I'm anxious to see how this works out. I'm hoping that the reels are going to be what I think they are. And if they are, I think it'll be a boon for anglers all over the place, but to get a good quality reel that you can depend on season after season and not have to spend a fortune on it. But back to your question, I like the 2,500, 3,000 is probably I would choose for a reel. And I like a 7-foot rod, something that you can cast the braid with.
Yeah.
I like a 15-pound braid. And then I will vary my leader, depending on what I'm fishing for.
Got it.
I'll use an FG knot to tie the two together. I'll do that. And I go anywhere from 15 to, the bluefish stuff, 15 to 100. But
100-pound mono or fluoro on the end of a 15-pound braid just sounds hilarious to say out loud, but it makes sense for a bluefish because of those big chompers.
Yeah, and I can tell you that if you choose to do that, a barrel swivel makes your life a lot easier. Just barrel swivel it up.
Yeah, so, just tie it on.
Yeah, in terms of tackle, Luke, as we're looking at the fall, I'm a big fan of the popping cork. I think that's hard to beat in the fall, especially for puppies and specks. One of the new lures that I like a lot is these wake baits. I think it's Shimano. I don't know that, but I know I'm pretty sure I'm not sure who makes it, but it's a shallow water. It's just under the surface. It's a wake bait. It is Shimano. They've got the Yozuri. Yozuri is what it is. It's the Yozuris. And
that's right.
Those things are absolutely deadly. They work really well on speckles. And that's a good thing is if you're fishing over grass beds, that wake bait gets you up over top of them right in the strike zone, but yet under the water on, after the golden hours when top water won't work, the wake baits tend to do a good job for you.
Getting them in there.
I would definitely have some of them in my box. I'd probably have some cast masters, ready to rock for Mr. Bluey if he shows up.
Okay.
And and an assortment of soft plastics. Some people say jig head color matters. I don't know about that. When you're looking at a 3/8 ounce jig head,
pretty small.
I'm more concerned about the swim bait that's attached to it and what I'm using there.
Right. And how you're giving it animation probably has a lot more to do with it than the size of the jig head or the color of the jig head.
Yeah, purples, the light purples and those hues I think are great for speckled trout. That electric chicken thing still has traction. It still works.
Yeah.
The sweetbriar colors, they still work. And then it's hard, and it's really hard to beat that bag of 50 gotchas in the white curly tail for $5.
Right.
I would definitely have some of them in the bag too.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get some fall reports from you once things start to cool off, because one of I think the coolest things about the area that you get to fish up there, the Potomac, Tangier Sound, and all the surrounding tributaries, is that depending on the day and the weather, you've got so many places to choose from that can produce different species. And so, for those that are listening that have never gotten to hear you talk before, tell them a little bit about all the different types of, trips that they can go on with you from. I mean, I won't take your thunder, but you offer a lot of different opportunities.
Last week was Ladies' Week. It was fun. I started my week off with 6 ladies that own different businesses in Berlin, Maryland, and they were looking for a busman's holiday. So we left Crisfield. We went to Tangier Island. Took a tour of Tangier Island. Chatted with the mayor for a little bit. And some of the VMRC people, chatted with them for a while and ducked into a couple of stores and just had a big old time. Went to Lorraine's and had crab dip and some flounder and some soft crabs, which were great.
Oof, yeah, that sounds awesome.
So then we left there and we went to Smith Island. And Smith Island's made up of 3 individual islands. A lot of folks didn't know that. It's Yule, Rhodes Point, and Tylerton. And we went into Tylerton, which has a population of about 40. And I know. And Drum Point Market, best crab cakes in the world. Had some crab cakes there. And then we eased on over to Harborside for some Smith Island cake. And then we kind of made our way back to Crisfield, and it was a fun day. But so we do those types of bay trips as well. We took in a lot of scenery that day, a lot of little little islands along the way we kind of went by and shell hunted and this and that. No, those ladies had a great time. It was easy for them to get in and out of the park or with that platform, so
Oh yeah.
that made it good. So we do that, in terms of fishing. Um, Steve Griffin the other day, we we were up off of Hooper's Island. He goes, "What in the devil are you doing up here?" I said, "You here, ain't you?"
You said Harper's Island?
Hooper's Island.
Hooper's Island. Okay.
Yeah, we were on up there. We were up off of 72A. We were up the Bay of Peace.
Oh
And
my.
but depending on where we're going and what my customers want to do, then that's kind of what we go for.
That's awesome.
We're fishing from there all the way down to Nassawadox. And we do on occasion. I'll poke my nose down around the bridge tunnel,
Hmm.
but so we're able to do that. Pony penning is always a big one. We have several boats for the pony penning over in Chincoteague to watch the ponies swim.
That's cool.
Multiple boats to do that. And with this Parker, we're going to be increasing our presence on the near shore wrecks for flounder fishing.
I
Uh,
was thinking you might
yeah,
do that a little bit more, especially now that you got that closed transom and bigger
yeah,
beam and a little bit more comfort there for those slightly bigger seas. But
yeah.
man, it's just cool to know. Like, I think people that are listening that have never really explored the Eastern Shore of Virginia, it's a treasure trove of history, unique culture, and lots of killer sights to see. And so, I would encourage anybody listening to go back, rewind the tape a little bit here, pull up Google Maps, and start to actually look and zoom into some of these places that CL is talking about because it really is really neat to actually see like just where it is that you would be potentially going and to go ahead and book a trip and just go experience it for yourself because you're going to have fun. There might be some ice cream. You're going to catch fish, and you're going to see some stuff that is truly like unique that
Amazing.
you'll never see. You'll never see anywhere else.
Yesterday's trip, we had, I had a family with me and we fished 6 hours. And we saw another boat. And that was it all
One
day.
boat.
Another boat. But I rattle off these places like Ewell and Tylerton and Smith Island and um, you know Hooper's Island. Because it's part of my fabric and
Right.
it's what I do. But I'm anxious to share it with people. Where'd you go to school, Luke? Where'd you go to college?
Well, I grew up in Hampton, and then I went to college in Virginia Beach.
Uh,
So two
uh,
kind of densely populated cities.
Virginia Wesleyan.
Close.
Okay. What was the name of the most popular bar in your town?
Oh, that's a good question.
Chicho's.
Probably Chick's Oyster Bar.
Okay, you know how it is at Chick's late night when the place is full and you gotta wait for somebody to come out before somebody else can go in.
Oh yeah,
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 that's where we are on the Eastern Shore right now. We're full. We're full.
yeah.
We're full. One out, one in.
That's too funny. You guys are very selective of who can be up there to maintain, such a great culture of fine folks like yourself. If folks are listening, they're like, okay, I've heard enough. I got to get out there and fish with you. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you to get a trip booked, get a hold of the calendar, and find out when they can get on board with you?
Yeah, old school, man. Phone 410-251-7341. We have a social media presence at Tangier Sound Charters, which is on Facebook and Instagram as well. So
Perfect.
easily found there. We are not, we are, we're in to have a good time, and I look at it like, an ice cream sundae. The ice cream's good, the fudge is good, the whipped cream's good, and the fish are the cherry.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can't remember the last time I've heard going fishing described as a good ice cream sundae, but I totally get the analogy. Uh, I wish folks could be watching the video here when you talk about fishing, like the passion, the smile on your face, that's like such a genuine thing that you love to do. And I like the way that you talked about it. It's like, hey, these are my roots, these are my people, this is my backyard, and I just want to share this, natural
Yeah.
God-given resource with folks that can, appreciate it and enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
um, Gab CL, it's just always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for carving out some time away from your wife, your mom, the dogs, and a
Woo.
beautiful evening to come talk fishing with us, man.
Yeah. I had a
Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to. providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.